talking about the multi-pitch lines on Bear's Hump. Now, Bear's Hump Rock and the rock in Waterton obviously is not. Uh, this is not Yosemite. You've got broken up limestone that's fairly sharp on your hands. It's an acquired taste in that you really have to learn how to climb around and through loose blocks, pulling on loose handholds. It's sort of like how Fisher Tower mud climbing is its own discipline. The climbing here in the park I think is similar if you're going to really like it. Now, having said that, there are some routes here that are the rock's pretty good. You still have loose blocks that you have to think about around there, but pretty much inside these cracks and stuff, they've been well traveled over the last few years. That you know, I think they're pretty reasonable. So what most people are gunning for when they get here to the hump is these climbs right here on the main face, and that's the Ursus Major or Cusak's Crack and Ursus Minor or Harebell Express. And those are the big face routes. Now, the other one that people used to do a lot more back in the sort of 90s and 2000s here is Mainline. And it's a really easy, almost scramble with a couple sections of what, like 5-4, 5-5, something like that. Check the guidebook for information. And just some easy bulges. So that's the main face routes. The other one that feels like a main face, even if it's off a little bit, is going to be Lichen Line. The Lichen Lines. Here's Lichen Line right, and there's Lichen Line left. Now, the right one, I think, is the more classic climb. The left one's not as good for me. Just wider crack. This guy's just gorgeous climbing up here. So those are the main routes that people are going to be heading off. And then if you want something really photogenic, you're going to be off on the upper prow with great positions up to the top. Now, a lot of people will also come here down to the lower tiers. And these two routes are Milt's Delight here for number one, and then Leaning Column number two. And Leaning Column's now become the more popular one with the addition of a bolt down through the bottom. The lower main right here, not great. B-line is definitely the better one. It's a beautiful hand crack through an overhang to a belay, and then just a scramble up a ledge. You've also got warm-up right here that you're going to start off on. And again, a great sort of beginner route. Once you get past the hard move at the start, then it kicks back to a slab with decent gear. It's not going to be straightforward as finding just following a crack up in Squamish, but it's going to be a good introduction to the rock in this area. So now, if I was saying what climb should you do if you're coming to the hump and you're looking for a multi-pitch, my suggestion is you're going to start off on warm-up, see how you like the rock. Once you get up to warm-up, then you're going to head to these upper routes. And my suggestion would be, if you want to feel like you're doing the face, you can head up Mainline, probably through one of these scrambling, or not scrambling, Cusak's approach pitch right here. And get up, get to the belays, do the little sort of grassy ledge walk up to here to belay, up the head wall, and then belay for rope drag or belay up here. And then you cut across the ledge to the right and up. Now, the main line, you'll have to be better at route finding just because it's so much back and forth and broken rock. But it's nice and very easy. Used to solo that one at night, full moon. Great climb to head up in the full moon. But probably what you do is warm up here, and then you're heading over to Lichen Line right. And so you'll wander along this ledge. If you've gone to the alcove right in here, you've gone too far. So you're sort of looking at this rib, and you can start pretty much anywhere up here. You're going to sort of aim for this grassy ledge. And depends if you want to do a long rope stretcher pitch with a fair bit of drag up here. So you're going to belay somewhere where you feel comfortable up there. And you're going to get to this ledge right in here. And it's a gorgeous ledge, a nice spot for a belay. I think there's probably like a bolt just with no hanger on it, sticking a fair ways out from maybe a rescue or something. I'm not quite sure where it was from or if my memory's accurate there. So small nuts belay, and then you get this great corner and easy lead climbing up here, and then you pick your poison for the exits, more scrambling off to the right or the ender's game, or just up here to the sort of step around point, wherever that happens to be. Right there, you can just almost boulder up boldly, which I wouldn't recommend, and get up to the top. So after you've done that, so after you've done your warm-up and then Lichen Line right, then you're probably used to the hump and you're ready for one of the harder routes. So the next step up is probably going to be the lower corners down in here. And so Milt's Delight used to be the classic. It's sort of like a pitch and a half climb, and Leaning Column a pitch and a half. Now they both have a little bit of bold climbing through here through the Dolomite. So take some slings, preferably those small narrow Spectra slings. Sling the horns well, and then the gear gets really good up here in these corners, and it feels like a long pitches and nice climbing to top it out. So those are great routes down here. And then after you've gotten used to those, if you're looking for more of the multi-pitch, try the upper prow, right? Or try the main climbs here, Cusaks and Harebell. And that sets you up for the Bear's Hump. Now, people always ask me, well, what about the gear? What do I need for the Bear's Hump? Except for those harder climbs like Cusaks and what's that bear climb that Conrad did? I have to look for that one. Oh, I guess it's not in this guy. The one just to the left of Cusaks, that 10B, that's really pumpy. So unless you're on those harder climbs, you don't need a very wide, expensive rack. You're probably looking at your normal sets of stoppers, and then a couple cams are nice. What I find on Bear's Hump is actually I like hexes better than cams for everything except the hard routes. So the scrambly routes, what happens is the cams are going to work fine. You want to make sure you've got ones that can handle are strong when they're fully open, because the cams are going to walk inside these pockets. This limestone just opens up. It's very irregular, so your lobes are always going to be hard to set, and then you wiggle it and it's going to walk. And so the cams will just move a little bit, and then they'll radically change how good a hold they are. Also, the lobes put a lot of force on the rock, and because this rock is often fractured, you're wanting to minimize that. So I find personally that hexes just sit in the shape of the rock really nice. They get cammed in. They're distributing their force over a wide area of rock, so you're not going to pop off these little sort of broken fractures like you do with cams. And because they seat inside those places where the cams will walk and then tip open, that they're just a lot more inspiring. Now, the long metal slung ones are a pain to carry around. If the metal ones were about 4 inches shorter, that'd be great. So if you're going to get your hexes, probably just sling your own, and then you can shorten them up to about the nut length, and then you don't have that cowbell effect that everyone hates for hexes. The other thing I think that's good for around here is tri-cams. So whenever I'm climbing any route, whether it's bolted or anything else, I'm always taking the pink, red, and brown tri-cams. And that's because they work for the horizontal breaks, they work as nuts, they work in these pockets we get in this limestone here where nothing else really well. And so they protect a lot of terrain, especially as you're heading up some of the more hard to protect routes. Then if you don't have tri-cams, it's not going to be hard to protect. It's going to be like impossible to protect, and you'll be setting yourself up for some bad situations. So consider like the 3 tri-cams mandatory, even if they aren't great pieces because they tend to sort of tilt around a bit. They work really good in some placements here. For racks, you can get started without a huge rack here. Like when I was first climbing, it was a half set of stoppers and 3 or 4 hexes. That got me up a lot of the routes, and nowadays you can go more than that because that would be a bit thin for Cusaks and stuff, but it'll get you going. The other pieces that I like for climbing on the hump are the Metolius, like the yellow sized TCU. I find is very, very useful for here. I also like, I think it's the 0.5 Black Diamond Camelot, the green one, whatever size that is, and then the red one, I think, which is the number 1. Those are a nice spread for stuff that you'll have, and then the nuts, some hexes and tri-cams. Now the other thing for some of these climbs is they rely on thin gear. So in some placements you're going to have like your number 2s and 3s and 4s Black Diamond stoppers are going to be great. Especially the number 3 just gets in almost like where you normally put in a knife blade baton. Can get in those. Now they're not strong pieces, so you're not going to be taking big falls on them, but the rock here too, you're not going to be taking like clean falls on it anyway, so you'll be tumbling a bit, bouncing off ledges probably, and so those will work for say a half body length or a body length. So that's the rack for the climbing here on the Bear's Hump. Picturesque, just really nice. It sort of has this feel of a nice multi-pitch route where you sort of have to trust yourself for where the route is going. Now that a lot of the belays are getting bolted, it takes away some of that. Am I on the right spot for newer climbers? If you're a well-heeled climber, you're not going to have trouble finding out where the routes are going to go. Pick it, wander, see what looks good, get to know the face a little bit, and then that will ease the confidence a ton. So that's why I suggest heading off on these easy routes. You just get used to where the corners are, where the major systems and ledge systems that you're shooting for are. That handles it for trad on the Bear's Hump.